They say the truth always shows up when you least expect it. That day, as I sat in the sun, I thought I was just being watched. But what I discovered instead tore open every hidden truth I'd been ignoring. I never thought a quiet afternoon would turn into a memory that would haunt me for months. The sky was bright that Sunday, the kind of afternoon where you just want to feel the world pause for a little while. My name is Claire, and if you had seen me that day, you'd think I was peaceful. You wouldn't have guessed that I'd spent the last 3 months crying in silence, pretending my marriage was okay when it wasn't. I was sitting in the backyard, soaking in the warmth, trying to clear my mind. My husband, Mark, had left earlier to run errands, though I'd stopped asking what that meant. We had been distant lately, not angry, just strangers under the same roof. I remember lying back on the lounge chair, eyes closed, the sun kissing my face. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe again. Then it happened. That eerie, heavy feeling that someone's eyes were on me. At first, I ignored it. We lived in a quiet neighborhood, the kind where people waved politely and gossiped softly behind closed doors. But the feeling didn't go away. When I opened my eyes, I caught a glimpse of movement behind the hedge separating our yard from the house next door. Someone was there. At first, I thought it was just the wind until I saw Ethan, our neighbor's son. He froze the moment our eyes met. He looked startled, guilty even, and quickly stepped back. I remember my heart pounding, not from fear, but confusion. Ethan had always been kind, respectful, even shy. He was in his 20s, back home from college for the summer. Why would he be watching me like that? I stood up, unsure of what to say. But before I could call out, he turned and walked away. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind wouldn't stop replaying the moment. I told myself it was probably nothing. Maybe he was just looking for his cat. Maybe it was coincidence. But deep down, something in me twisted, not because of him, but because of how I felt. Because when I caught his eyes, I didn't just see guilt. I saw curiosity, maybe even concern. The next morning, I decided to confront him, not with anger, but with clarity. I didn't want this misunderstanding to grow into something ugly. When I knocked on their door, his mother greeted me warmly, unaware of anything strange. She called Ethan, and he came out, looking uneasy. "Can we talk for a second?" I asked. We walked to the garden, and before I could even speak, he said, "Mrs. Lawson, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable." I was taken aback. He looked pale, eyes red like he hadn't slept either. He hesitated before adding, "I wasn't watching you because of that. I was watching because of him." "Him?" I asked, confused. He nodded toward our driveway. "Your husband. I saw him drive off yesterday. But before he left, there was a woman in his car. I thought you should know." The world stopped spinning for a second. Every piece of calm I had built around me shattered. He wasn't spying on me. He was watching Mark. Ethan's voice trembled. "I didn't know how to tell you. I thought maybe you already knew. I didn't know. I didn't want to know." My hands shook as I thanked him and walked back home. My mind was a blur of questions, excuses, memories, all the nights Mark said he was working late, the sudden distance, the quiet dinners, the empty smiles. That evening, when Mark came home, I didn't say a word. I watched him move around the kitchen, pretending nothing was wrong. He looked tired, guilty even. And for the first time, I decided to stop pretending. Was she worth it? Those were the only words I could say. He froze. The spoon in his hand dropped, hitting the counter with a dull sound. Then came the silence, the kind that fills the whole room like smoke. He didn't deny it. He didn't even try. Instead, he whispered, "It just happened, Claire." I didn't mean for it to. I don't remember much of what I said after that. I remember crying. I remember shaking. I remember saying things I can't take back. But what I remember most was stepping outside later that night, sitting on the same chair where I'd felt peaceful just a day before and realizing peace wasn't something the sun could give me anymore. The next morning, I saw Ethan again. He waved gently from his side of the fence, unsure if I was angry. I smiled weakly and said, "Thank you." He nodded, and that was it. Weeks passed. I didn't leave Mark immediately. Sometimes, betrayal isn't a single event. It's a slow understanding that the version of love you believed in no longer exists. Mark tried to make things right. Therapy, apologies, gifts, all of it. But once trust breaks, it doesn't return in the same form. I realized one day that I had been waiting for closure that would never come from him. So I gave it to myself. That's what the thumbnail means. I decided to give him something he wouldn't forget. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't anger. It was strength. I forgave him. Not because he deserved it, but because I deserved peace. I started painting again, something I hadn't done in years. I filled my canvases with colors that spoke of pain, of healing, of rediscovery. Months later, when Ethan went back to college, he left a small note in my mailbox. It said, "Thank you for not hating me. I'm glad you know the truth. You deserve light." I cried reading that. Because somehow, in the middle of pain, kindness still found its way through. Now, every time I sit in that same backyard, I remember healing doesn't always come wrapped in comfort. Sometimes, it comes through the eyes of a stranger brave enough to tell you the truth. Sometimes the truth hurts, but sometimes it saves you. If you've ever been betrayed or had to find your strength again, this story is for you. Don't let pain turn you bitter, let it turn you brave. Speech Balloon, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever forgiven someone who broke your trust? Your story might give strength to someone who needs it today. Bell subscribe to Woman Stories 8 for more emotional stories about love, betrayal, and redemption. Because every story reminds us, even in heartbreak, there's always hope.